All right, folks, welcome on back for another fantastic edition of our Traders Talk Workshop here this Monday, September 16th, shortly after noon Eastern. Great to have all of our students and members alike just joining us here this morning or afternoon. Got Dave, Ravina, Gillis, Barbara, Joyce, Kathleen, DJ, got John from before, got Lynn and Randy from before, Grant, and all of our students and members there. Had a frog in my throat for the last 2 minutes trying to clear that out there. So pardon me, but feel more than free to join us as well. Just continuing on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc. At Cyber Trading U popping up on the lower left right there. Had a hell of a trade on this BBLG just from earlier. And there's a few things that are still moving right now. But from our live trading room just before, we had a phenomenal morning. And you weren't really expecting that to begin, for a week, just for the beginning of a week, for a Monday. No real earnings out coming up this week at all. Got my Butler Bulldog background now. As I showed you in previous week's editions of Traders Talk, I normally have my earnings calendar. So yeah, no good earnings this week. Got the Butler Bulldog logo showing, but I'll tell you, we had BBLG from this morning, and I know it doesn't look good now, but man, this VRAX really started it off for us here in pre-market hours. So there's a lot that we can get to here. Let's actually begin with VRAX. No better place to start than the first one. So this thing's in the pits now. This thing's a loser now. But this is also a good example of just showing why we don't buy the news and just hope and assume it's going to keep going up, or it's going to definitely make another run like it made back in June time when we last traded it, or whenever it last was. So the headline that came out on VRAX earlier this morning, I'll show it to you. Trading higher after the company announced it extended its existing exclusive distribution agreement with Cosmo Health to market Mpox in real time through its PCR detection kits. We've seen this song and dance before, right? We've done this before with COVID, not even the vaccine companies, but the antibody testing kits, right? So with that there, VRAX had a big pop. This was at shortly after 8:30 in the morning, I believe. Right? Right at 8:30 in the morning, it took off. So let's get to this trade, because if you're on social media, actually go right to our YouTube channel right there. One of our last videos that we've done, just on our YouTube channel right there, is in regards to this stock, VRAX, and the last time it came out with good news in relation to Mpox stuff. Actually, I'll show you that to you here in a quick sec. Probably won't play the audio portion of it as much, but just more or less, you can kind of see this is back when I got the COVID flag right there too. You could see, what was this, back 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago was the last time that we were trading VRAX. We posted this video on YouTube. We'll probably post this one coming up shortly after. But that's where I'll just say, if you feel confident in a stock you've done well on previously, unless if the stock's on a 15-20 cent spread, unless if it's untradeable, you got to give it a shot. So even for a Monday, and normally pre-market, I'm just more on the sidelines unless if it's got a great order book, great setup. This was a great setup, just the order book was a little thin. So here's what happened on this trade. I'll get my trade for you here on my position manager. But, this ended up making an initial pop, broke out in pre-market shortly after 8:30. Took off pretty quick. I was immediately looking for support, broke over resistance. When a stock breaks over resistance and it runs, resistance initially should look to become that support. So that's where I was thinking, all right, if we look on the daily chart here, this actually had some decent support. If you go back a little bit here, 340-ish. I thought a decent historical. Perhaps that would be the pullback level. Long story short, folks, this just kept going up and up and up for the time being there in pre-market. In fact, a 67,000 share buyer popped in right here, just right at this point. Now, I'm still looking for 340. It ends up coming down to this order. And what happens is it does break under it a bit, but I don't get my 340. This just doesn't drop down at 340 in the pre-market hours. It does this after the market opens, and this was just a dead trade afterwards. It just immediately pulled back, and that was it. What do you see sticking out, though, on the right side? If you look on the right side of this whole window, this whole screen, we go over this in our Phase 1 stock course. We'll be doing this even just on Friday's classes. What pops up to you there on that far right column, the CVP column? Anything notable, anything sticking out there like a sore thumb? What do we got from Ravina, Gillis, Barbara? Hopefully audio should be good to go here for Traders Talk. Ravina says 360, Marcella 360 as well, right? And they're not even answering because of this, red line here on the screen. That is one reason why 360 is a key level, like we said, 65, 66,000. But it also sticks out pretty sharply here once it breaks under and then back over. So I was looking for 340 at first, like thinking it would pull back that far at this point. It doesn't. It ends up just kind of holding over, I guess, the VWAP. But once it broke back over 360, this was my first entry. Let me get my position, man. I went to the ophthalmologist over the weekend, by the way. We're getting new glasses here, so we'll be seeing better over time. I got filled at 8:43 and 14 seconds to be exact at the price 361. I got out on the position at the time at 387. That was like a minute trade. I was only in the trade for like a minute. That was on half the shares, by the way, half the position. So I took half out at 387 just shortly afterwards. You want to start the morning off with a little green, and I kept half in just in case if it were to pop. The second half of the position I sold at 846 and 47 seconds, pretty much the same price, like at 87. So, it's just more or less to say, like, why did I take the trade to begin? Well, it broke through this big level on the way up. I didn't buy it here. 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 I bought it once it broke over the big level here. I wanted 340, didn't get it at the time, obviously, but this built out to be a strong level. In fact, I think so much so. Give me a quick moment here in chat. I'm going to answer a poll question here in just a bit that we had asked earlier for you. Give me a quick sec. I like keeping my receipts. Give me a quick sec. So, at 8:43 in the morning, I wrote the playbook to you here in our live trading room. At 8:43 in the morning, I said 360 becoming a big level, right? So it's pretty much right then and there in which I had taken the trade, right? What was the entry time again that I had? It was at 43 and 14 seconds. So it was pretty much instantly upon me jumping in. I wrote that to you. I said 360 becoming a big level. Was I expecting it to be one? No, I wanted 340. But if you see something sticking out like this, it's like a sore thumb. It's pretty easy on the eyes for you to see on the far right side. And we teach this again in our classes. Even later on this week, we'll do it live. But more or less led to the big move shortly after. I'm not trying to be perfect with my exit as long as I'm pristine with my entry. That's what gives me the chance to get as much meat off the bone as possible. Typically every trade has an end time, has a top. So I want to make sure I could be there as early as possible, not in terms of like the pop here. Like if anyone says, oh, they got in right here, it's like they're lying or whatever. Like it's like luck, but you got to be intelligible with your entry. So as much as I wanted this, 340, didn't get it. I got 360 though after, and it led to a clean squeeze. At this point though, it moved up to 4. I think I even took it again for like a smaller trade. I don't want to go through every single one. Just everything else after that though was like kind of break even on VRAX and also the BBLG. But I took it one more. I was in from 89. I got out at 402, and then I tried again from 350, and I got out at 345. So after that point, I moved on from it. That was at like 9 a.m. in the morning. So, this trade allowed us a good ability to make money on it, but it's also because, well, it's not our first rodeo on this trade. We've done well on this stock before, just a month ago, just 3 weeks ago, right? So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Unless, again, if it's broke, meaning if it has a huge spread, if it's got a crazy order book with no one out there at the time, then in that case, it doesn't incentivize you to try and take the trade just because you've done well on it in the past. That's where actually, not to go off course, but really briefly, for anyone following AFRM, it's a little bit more out of the price range of recent, but the order book's gotten so thin on this compared to what it's normally been. So that kind of detracts you a little bit more or less, right? So VRAX, nothing detracted us from taking this trade because, well, again, the order book was good. It checked out. But as much as this checked out well for us going into the open, look what happened instantly afterwards. Like right on minute number 2, minute number 3, ended up pulling back and it broke below that 340. So we had our test here. Things were looking okay. Fausto did his morning meeting right at 9 o'clock. I was calling this out inside our live trading room right at this point. So you were looking for the higher high. If you weren't getting this, move back up towards like 380-ish, 389-ish, convincingly, pretty good chance it's going to make this move down. This is like a bearish Fausto flag building, right? Lower high, bam, breaks below support. Game over. I mean, this thing's cooked, right? So It's unfortunate that that it's cooked now, but it's not surprising though at the end of the day. Just even again, look what happened on the daily charts the last time we traded the stock off of MPOX news. It was a great day trade, and it was a great day trade on numerous occasions here. Even these long upwicks, they were probably days where we did well on it on the way up, just came right back down pretty quickly after. So, history often repeats itself, and that's where it's definitely not surprising that this pulled back. So, all right. Now, really quick, you saw me use Bookmap, right? I was just going over this in Bookmap, and that's what allowed me to have the confidence to take this trade from 360 at first. So I was asking our students earlier, just right before we started, hey, do you have Bookmap? Whether it's like the main version or if you're on the Thinkorswim, Schwab version, whichever at this point. So I want to post the results. It's honestly a 50-50. So, half of us do, half of us don't. Look at that. And like 40 of us answered there in the chat just before. So, it's just to say that I would recommend getting Bookmap in any variety. If you're a trial member joining our trading room right now, it's expected for you to, either not have it, or if you do have it, you're a step ahead. But, we teach this in our class. We teach this here each and every Monday in Traders Talk. But otherwise, though, if you don't have it, you better have level 3. Better have at least level 3 there, because if you don't even have level 3 and you don't have level 4, you're basically driving your car blind. We talk about like driving our car here, right? What happens when you take your foot off the gas pedal and all of that stuff. Well, what happens when you drive blind? You tell me, right? So you better make sure that you're able to follow the orders in any respect. Otherwise, it's game over. Just took a loss right now on serve, just so you know. Stopped out there. So yeah, it's not all about just the wins. Just took a loss right there on serve. I had a good entry here off of 794, I think, or 793, and just ended up breaking lower. So, not everything's going to be a win, but you got to know how to control the losers too. So the VRAX trade at least was like the first one. That was the first one that took off pretty nicely. And then after the market opened, how about this BBL? It was BBLG? Yeah, BBLG here. This thing's crashing down now too. But, this one was on our watch list. Fausto scanned for throughout the morning session. We built out our morning watch list. And, this was like, I think, number 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's just a little flat right before 9:30. That was the only gripe that I had on this stock going into the open here. But again, that's kind of where you have to reshift your mind. Be like, oh, well, shit, we like killed it on VRAX earlier. Let's also remind ourselves, it's a Monday, right? It's a Monday. So if everything's flat right before 9:30, it shouldn't be as much of a surprise there. But of course, right after the open, little drop here to begin, and then it ended up building back up. And within the first few minutes, myself and Fausto were just trying to find a few different trades. Nothing was looking too stellar, too good, and I was like thankful to catch this at the time, moving up and up. So let me show you the entry I had on this one here. We called this one out shortly afterwards and led to a huge breakout. This one I felt more confident in on the break over this high, pretty much, or is like supposed to be that high. I took it a little early. It was like basically off of this peak here. I was looking for this area here that was resistance to get broken through. So, it was beginning to move back up. It was pushing up, up, up here at the time. Now, what led me to take the trade a little sooner? 2 things. One, our larger volume level was right here at 126. It was a 58,000 share print. Came in right at the market open. Teach this again. I need to just be Josh the instructor right now. But again, in class, all throughout the phase 2 stock course, we teach this. That'll be next week. But, 126, this became a key level going into the day. So I saw it moving up here already, and it was moving over this price. All right, well, why not take it from that price? Why not get in just at 127 then? It's easy to say it worked out. Because I was still not 100%. I was looking more for the break over the VWAP, if anything, I believe. From my recollection, it was like kind of this peak, and it was the VWAP mainly because, ran from it earlier, broke under it, was holding under it. It held under it here again. So I was looking more or less for the break over, like little peak, but also the VWAP here at the time. So on the BBLG, I got in right at 9:38, 26 seconds. It took like 2 entries same time there practically. So it loaded up and it was at 133.5 averaged in at. So at 9:38 and 28 seconds and 29 seconds, it is pretty much right here. It pushed above it. And I guess on this little dip here, I jumped in right at this point. So let me certainly, I may need to filter this shit out there. Give me a quick second. There we go. A lot easier on the eyes. All right. So on the BBLG trade, I got out on most of my position at like 147, 146. I got filled at like two exits there, 940 and then 945. But basically, it ended up pushing up nicely. Started off pretty good. Again, I mean, we don't need to be perfect with the exit as long as we're pristine with the entry. But something here that I wanted to just get out on was a good portion of my position. This was on more shares than I normally do. And at least I still have some shares remaining in case if it goes crazy and runs all the way up. But otherwise, we did well on VRAX earlier. We don't need to, kill it 100% on this and get greedy. So that's part of why I got out. But then otherwise, though, the other thing that led me to take like part of my position, that was like 3/4 out, 1/4 in. I kept 1/4 remaining because, well, when you think about it, it's 9:45 in the morning. So there's still plenty of time left as far as like reversal time goes. The cyber clock, seeing that expected reversal, it's up a lot percentage wise, but unless if it like explodes and like gets halted on the way up, then I'm not as jumpy to get out because it's 9:45 in the morning. We still have plenty of time in theory. In theory, more often than not, from past experience, we tend to see a reversal more around 10:30 in the morning. So I got out on the last quarter of my position. This was at 9:40. What was it? Buy, sell. This one last one. So at 9:57 and 18 seconds at 169. So basically, like kind of just within this area, just kind of it was pushing up a little bit. I said the hell with it because honestly, again, we don't need to be perfect with the exit unless if this exploded and ran over 2 and got up to 250 without me. I'm not going to like cry over spilt milk at this point, right? Like we've killed it on VRAX. We killed it on BBLG now at this point. This was on larger share size, definitely. Now, mind you, we just came off a class earlier today, the phase 1 stock course, but where you look at the order book right now, we'll go over this more in the afternoon one here as well, but you got large orders here at practically every price. You got thick tiers here on level 2, I'd imagine. Yeah, ton of yellow, ton of green. So that's what it looked like even in pre-market, although it was flat. When this was moving after the open, it retained this type of liquidity. So it's not only inexpensive, but even if it's on a lower float, this stock actually has some big orders out here on the order book. It's trading large volume out there on level 3 and level 4. So that's where I personally, at least the experience I have, I feel more confident with taking this type of trade on more size. You don't want to get too crazy on size, but at least that's where you look to scale out here, scale out there. And I only had a quarter of my position remaining. I got out on 3/4 of the position within about 7 minutes time total. From the time I got in to the time I closed out 3/4 of my position, it was about 7 minutes long, the trade. So that's not really that long in terms of time. And I still had 1/4 remaining, and I had that until the price 169. So, I sound like a broken record player here at this point. But again, we don't need to be great, perfect with the exit as long as we are clean with the entry. That's what matters. That's what matters most. Now, again, it's not always about the wins. I'll show you a loss I took here as well. PLTR ended up being a win from earlier. Maybe I can just go over this one as well, but then we'll do a loss. I want to give Fausto a nice hat tip on this one. I went break even on my first PLTR trade here. Still going right now, obviously. But, I went break even at first on PLTR to like kind of within this area, just right over 36, right out as it pulled back. Wasn't going anywhere. Wasn't making that big move shortly after. Crashed. I wasn't looking at it at the time. I wasn't looking at it here pretty much when it moved back up. It did pop over 36 in the CVP spike here, but Fausto called out this iceberg. Yeah, it was right here. It was 128,000, 127,000 shares here at 36.10. There was one on the bid as well, kind of a little war between the two. But I'm thinking the same thing that he's thinking, like, well, shoot, if this could break over 36.10 at least, if the Bulls could win this battle, I don't really see much resistance until, maybe 36.50, maybe 37 up top. This has the chance to be a runner. So once this broke over 36.10, Fausto was like all over it. And he said it's probably going to do a shake or something. So as soon as he said that, at least I've been with him long enough, like for new students here, you'll get to like pick my brain, pick his brain, and learn a little thing from each of us as far as like, certain words that we use like in the room and things that we say with confidence. When he talks about a shake, he's looking for like a little slingshot down and up. So he's expecting a bounce. And on PLTR, I got back in on this trade at 10:03.52 at 36.11. I got out at 36.31. This was just on half share position, but it's still good money though. It's still well worth the trade and just get in, end up squeaking up a little bit. This was one more where I kind of scalped it because I was kind of late to the party. And we're getting a little closer towards that, 10:30-ish reversal time-ish. So maybe that could be 10:15. Maybe that could be even earlier. It ended up bottoming out a little bit just before and pushed up. But otherwise, maybe we'll focus on this trade later on today. But the one that I took a loss on, this thing was freaking nasty. NCNA. Oh, it's actually trying to go back up right now, too. This basically made the same exact setup as the BBLG trade did from the morning. Remember BBLG, I said here off of 130, like breaking the VWAP, breaking over like a little peak there, and it ran. Okay, so NCNA, it was doing this before. It took a 17-cent loss on half size. I jumped in from 7, like 11, 7, 13 price per year. It was a good entry, but it clearly didn't work out. So, I was looking for the same exact reaction, that big pop shortly after. And it started out okay, but I still had my stop set kind of deep, like underneath $7. And it just took me out. So, like, kind of very quick reaction in, like, expected to make a big move shortly after. And if it doesn't make that big move in your direction, you just don't want to be held liable. Look at this thing. It dropped all the way down to what? Freaking 571. And it's easy to say, like, oh, it moved back up. Yeah, that's like right now. It's like Captain Hindsight comment. None of us, you, me, your mother, your grandmother, no one wants to be in this position, ripping their hair out, like stressed out, like, oh my God, I'm down so much money. Oh, it's coming back. That's not what we do here. That's not what we teach here, at least. Our goal is to at least be very decisive with our entries, and we should know rather quickly if it's going to work out in our favor or not. That's where right now, I may even take this on a smaller, share position, at least at this point, but just, more for education, and try and set this up in case if it were to break over 710 again. But I feel like, if this really gives us another opportunity, there's a chance for it. The point being is that you don't want to be stuck in this trade as it drops all the way down, all the way back up. And you know what? Again, it's a Captain Hindsight comment. It's easy to say it's moving back up now. Who's to say that you wouldn't have gotten out right here at 627? Who's to say that you wouldn't have just, given up right there? Like, oh, that's it. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm out or over here, right? So we're not trying to hold on to big fat losers. So I have no problem taking a 17-cent hit here. It was on smaller size and half size, but just to say it's not my normal. And otherwise, it was great job from the morning session. I gave a little back. I'm still up a good amount here on the day. And now at this point, this thing might be even making another move back up here. We'll see if this has enough gas left in the tank for this to try and squeeze over this resistance. I'm going to keep my eyes on this here on my book map just as we go through some email questions live. We've got a bunch to get through here, folks. So basically, that was like my morning in summation. We had our class earlier today. So, a lot of our students were joining me there. That was pretty much most of what we had traded all together. If there's anything else that you wanted me to go over, this is definitely your time to, just chat me right now. And we have a bunch of email questions that were sent in from earlier too. So, all right, really quick, just a quick moment here. I think Gillis had sent this over from earlier, one of our gold students. He had a successful trade on IMRX from last Friday. However, he was about to cancel his buy stop limit order when he was filled at the same time. It was like coincidental timing, basically. Like he went to close out his order to buy. He's actually using a buy stop order. But right when he went to cancel it, the freaking thing filled him at the same time. Was he wrong to think of canceling his buy order based on momentum, or should he have been more patient as it worked out on this one? Wow, love this question. So I had mentioned this to Gillis in our coaching sessions previously. Dialogue is incredible. Every question is like an all-star question. So yes and no, and that's what a great answer typically, provides as a result. It's typically the answer of yes and no. And to go much deeper into that, obviously, here we go. So if the stock is on like BBLG type of order book, and we know this thing's on a consistent 1 cent spread, and order book is pretty liquid, big icebergs, you're confident in your levels. as long as you are aware that you have the order open out there, right? You're not. It's not like you're telling me you forgot that it was out there. You're clearly telling me you were about to cancel it, but then the stock popped and it actually filled your order. There's a difference. Let's say if someone forgot that their orders are out there. Well, that's where I'd say, okay, we need to do better job managing our open orders. And we have like our position manager right here showing at least where everything is. You can do this for open orders, filled positions, regular, whatever it is. But in Gillis's case right here, if the stock has this type of liquidity and you're clearly aware that the order is out there and the stock is moving back up, 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 think of it this way. Look what happens if you were to set a buy order right here on BBLG. Made the breakout, broke over the big level, led to a big move shortly after. So, I'd feel more confident leaving that order out there on a trade like BBLG that has this type of liquidity. For NCNA, tale of two different stories here, because this, not so much. Imagine, having your order out there, and even if you remembered it, if you're not as much of a fan of the setup at the time, then it's best to pull it. You can't go wrong trusting your gut, especially if it's trying to protect you. If you end up missing out on made money, then that's just something that we'll kind of study off of and learn from going forward. Be more reactant, I guess, the next time, or keep that order out there the next time. But otherwise, I'd feel more confident just simply doing it on a stock that retains better liquidity. Now, as much as I say that to you, I was actually setting up an order. I was thinking about setting up an order to buy this. And coincidentally, Gillis, segues right to this here. I was going to use a buy stop. I was going to actually use a buy stop limit order here and try and take this trade on a breakout over 710, 711, I think it was. Shit, maybe 709 or something. Just basically this peak. But the issue is the liquidity. It's like, what if I, leave the order out there and I'm answering another question or another email, and then it fills my order and then the damn thing shakes right back down again. So for a stock that has this type of liquidity or a lack thereof, makes it a lot harder to manage the exit. That's the thing. So incredible question. I love that. Actually, if you don't mind, I'll just jump to IMRX here quick. Ooh, wow, look at this. What the hell's going on here, Gillis? You're like, my assistant here right now. You segued right to my discussion on the buy stop with the NCNA, and now you make me turn over to this IMRX that obviously you're asking on, but this thing's actually up 22% right now live, like on the way up to 250. So what is going on right now? This thing is making a great move. This is from Friday, and Gillis had this on Friday, I think it was. Yep. Was this Friday? Yeah, it's Friday. Little move up. Yeah, if you're assuming the breakout over like 220 there is building up nice, probably had a little buying interest here. Probably was building up pretty nicely in the after hours the day before. So it's one of those things where, you leave the order out there as long as it's on a good spread stock, and more importantly, if it's a retest. So, we'll just kind of lower it, say right here. This seems like a big level right here, clearly holding. So, it broke over it. That would have made for a nice trade, right? Let's actually take a look, because it broke over 250 here. Even here? Early in the morning, back on Friday? That's actually part of what I look for with interest. So we do have some buying interest that's come in, not only from Friday, but obviously even just before here. Broke over 250, broke over 250. The more times this thing nips 250 right now, it's going to break over it clean and run. So what is this? Got that freaking IMRX? All right. So I have this up on my screen already. I got to readjust right now. Oh my God, this thing is looking great. Yeah, so we had an iceberg at 250. It showed up after the head fakes here from Friday. 87,000, 88,000 share seller out there. We ended up seeing, larger order got filled earlier at 240 though. That's holding better now as support. I'd still wait for the 250 break for like cleaner move. You have a lot of volume built up here from CVP. Is that 47, 48? Yeah, 48. Wow. Okay, so this is looking pretty strong for a 250 break here. If it can re-break 250, there's a good chance it could run. Now, if it doesn't run after the break over 250, then that's where you got to be careful for the head fake, the pull back, maybe back down here. So interesting development right now, Gillis. I appreciate your email. Actually parlayed perfectly with my discussion. All right. So I said before I started Traders Talk, I said we have the perfect combination of emails and questions and spam. Delete some shit right now. I got some spam here. Any other spam? What else we got? We got some office stuff that is not spam, but I will separate that from everything else. There we go. Spam. All right, here we go. From George. We got a question from George. Not spam, but actually George with no questions, saying, no questions yet. I'm still going through all of your training videos. Should be done with them by the end of the week. I appreciate him sending that over to me. And, for any of our new gold students here, keep in mind, like, just we don't expect you to rip through our, education cycle, our classes in one day, 1 week. Even if you do that, it's not going to benefit you nearly as well as like going through it at a steady pace. Like, actually right now, perfect segue, Lynn and Randy, some of our new gold students here, they are going, I think, 2 classes a day, maybe 1 or 2 classes a day, just to catch up with our, cycle of classes that we do live. That's a nice pace. That's a really steady pace. They're not doing information overload and all of that. They actually reminded me here of a discussion here I was going to bring up about pattern day trading, right? Pattern day trading convo. They say valuable info. Many thanks. We'll catch it on the recording. Okay. So a couple of things here really quick. I actually have to make sure I catch back up with the NCNA trade, make sure that doesn't take off without me either. Okay. So with the pattern day trading stuff, right? Let me actually ask this. Who here uses a cash account and who here uses a margin account? I want everyone to answer. If you're on social media, let me know. YouTube, Facebook Live, X, etc. If you're inside our live trading room, obviously you got Kathleen Barber, you got Marcella, you got Chuck, Gillis, DJ, all of us here in chat right now. Let me know what do you have? You have cash or you have margin? What do you got? It would have made a poll question if I was more prepared. I'm not. So there we go. And there's no right or wrong. No right or wrong here. So, I knew with asking this question, I'm getting a mixed bag of answers. A bunch of us saying cash, a bunch of us saying margin. Here we go. Just trying to poppity pop. Man, I'm kind of interested in taking this trade right now. Give me a quick sec. I'm going to try and set up on half size at least. Give me a quick sec, though, because it did just push 250 nicely. Okay, if it can pull back and hit 252, I'll try and get filled. But this is where, a lot of us are saying either or cash or margin. There's no wrong with either. But this is where I'll say, though, that with using margin, you're given leverage, right? 4-to-1 buying power. Basically, at that point, there's certain benefits on margin compared to cash. But with using a cash account, though, if you're trying to remain above the pattern day trade requirements and all of that stuff, you got to be at 25,000 cash or more. That's in order to make more than 3 or more day trades across the given week. Now, the thing with using a cash account, though, is that if you're under that limit, technically a day trade now is one less day for the funds to settle compared to what it previously was. Previously, for a long time, if you're on a cash account, it would normally take 2 days for the cash to settle in a day trade in order for it to be used again. Now, this thing is running without me. It happens. No worries. It's been a good day already for myself. If anyone got in on this trade, that would be nice in our trading room here. If you had jumped in off 250, nice move there already, pushing up pretty well. But this is where I'll say at least back from the end of May, basically right after Memorial Day weekend, all domestic brokers, direct access brokers, changed it up now. So it's 1 business day for the funds to settle, not 2. So it's the same as options. If you're familiar with options and you day trade options in and out same day, it just takes 1 business day, and then the funds can be reused they can be reused the next day after. So that's now the same thing with trading stocks with a cash account. It makes it a lot easier for people to at least willingly day trade if they don't have that 25,000 limit or so. All right, so really quick, who's in on this IMRX trade? You got Alex Poe, Irving. Oh, and from 205, Irving. You meant to say 205 or 250? He meant 205 because he killed it on a previous trade last week. He did really well on that. Yeah, 205. No typo from my friend Irving right there in chat. Really nice job from him. Alex, anyone else on this trade? Yeah, I mean, I'd missed it, but, we're teaching. We're not trying to make money as much right now. I don't cry over spilt milk here unless it goes up to like $5 without me. We'd be a little upset about that. But, hey, this made the type of move that you would have expected on a rebreak, a retest rebreak over 250. So, I'll keep my eyes out on this trade still, but And really quick, as we head over to our other stock here, NCNA is still lingering, not really doing a whole bunch yet. Actually, on level 4 for this, for any of our students that don't have level 4, then this is where I say you better be watching level 3. You'll be flying blind. Even though 710, 709, 710 is our like level right now, you have this that popped up. 105,000 share sell order showed up at $7.40. So if you're looking for where that next level is, this certainly is it. If you're not aware of that, then you better watch out. Then you better make sure you cross your T's, dot your I's, make sure this can flip into a support on a breakout. Size on this one, at least. I'm not doing this one on 500 shares. Maybe if it was the morning earlier, like before. All right, so really quick, I'm just going to keep ripping through my inbox right now, folks. Just had a question from, or actually that's something that Fausto, I think, wrote back on. There we go. Ooh, a little IT, little correction there from my friend Lee here in chat right now, saying website states the workshop begins at 11 o'clock Eastern time, no, 12 o'clock, and that's going forward. So just so we're all aware, Traders Talk, we had just changed the date time recently. So going forward, as you know, will be the case every Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern time, we conduct this live workshop every week. So just so we're all aware of that, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Central. All right, I want to watch this try and run up right now. We got a little bit more time left before we finish up Traders Talk here. But if there's any other questions that you got from me here in chat, let me know. But otherwise, man, this has been a beautiful move here already. Not just on the other one there, the IMRX. Oh, this might pull back. Let's see if I can get my like order filled off of like 250. I don't mind this type of trade here getting filled on a pullback only for this stock, because look at how filled in the order book really is. So I'm not as concerned about a massive flush, big giant drop after, even if this doesn't hold. So that's where you become more confident with doing entries like that. But between the NCNA, the IMRX, a couple of good moves that we can keep our eyes on for right now. On the stick since 9:30 in the morning. The tongue is starting to get tied a little bit. All right. So again, at Cyber Trading U popping up on the lower left right now on our social media streams right now. We do this workshop each and every week at 12 o'clock Eastern. If you have any other questions as well, definitely let myself know. Again, if you're interested in joining our live trading room, that is, just scan that QR code on the top left of the stream with your phone, with your camera. You'll be all set there. All right. Let's see. Anything else that we got to go through here before we wrap up? Obviously, a lot we'll be discussing in class. Level 3, not even level 4 just yet, but the TradeStation Matrix, level 3, otherwise formerly known as the NASDAQ Book Viewer, separate program. But, those two programs we define as level 3. We're going to be teaching that in our live class later on today at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So as a bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond student of CTU, you have access to that. So I definitely look forward to seeing you there and basically continuing this conversation, All right. So I'll tell you what, folks, I think that we're going to wrap up, at least for the time being here, because after Traders Talk, I got to jump onto a coaching call with one of our students, and perhaps we take this NCNA trade together here in just a moment. This thing's flying on up right now. Do we finish right now, or do we hang on? What do you think? Do we hang on, or do we finish up right now, folks? What do you suggest? What do you think we do? We stick on the horn for a little bit longer, watch old Josh try and take this trade here. It's pushing back up fast. I wasn't necessarily expecting like the quick push back up. So I was going to kind of call Traders Talk and say, all right, we'll just finish this up inside our trading room here. But Rand says to hang on. Keep going here. All right, we'll keep going. A little bit more. Let's see if this can make a breakout. Let's see if this can pop. Now here's the thing, though. I took this trade earlier on larger size, like the 500 shares. That's half size position technically for like $7. Just to say, like, that was a quick exit. That was a quick loss. So this is a little bit more challenging to get into, at this time of the day, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock Eastern time. This is like mail time right now. Not as much really as like sticking at this time of the day. But otherwise, though, the liquidity, that's the issue. Who's to say that the next test is going to be, the clean break or the false break? What I focus on is the more tests in a smaller time frame, I feel better about. So just moved back up to it right here, kissed it, came back down. Hasn't done it since. What time is this? 12:25? About 20 minutes ago. So if it can retest it another one more time, maybe two more, I'd be very much interested in taking the next little pop. So, see if it plays nice or it just might blow the roof off it. Who knows? The stock is thin enough to where the chance of it getting halted is there. Leda inside our YouTube stream today. I think she's traveling right now. Leda, wishing you well, my friend. She says, hang on, stick around for a little bit longer. I will. Got a dry mouth right now. I've been on the stick since 9:30, Leda. Making me run dry today. So we've had our classes today, full hour of audio commentary inside our live trading room, and obviously traders talk here, then afternoon class. If you're a football fan, anyone here a football fan? Feel like who is it? Scott Hansen? That's the NFL one. Chris Hansen, Scott. The NFL red zone guy. I feel like I'm him on the mic for like 5 hours straight today. I got to make sure I'm filled up. But otherwise, we'll stay on for another few more minutes here. I want to see if this could pop. Love to see if we can get this breakout here. But again, keep in mind, like I'm not taking this trade in between levels. I'm not going to take it, just right here, right now. You got resistance at 740. And then otherwise, you did have resistance from earlier today. It was the larger resistance at the time, pre-market. It was right here, 708. That was like basically where my line's at right now. That's the level that I'm kind of looking at here for the break. And even if we get the break, the issue is that we got this big resistance at 740 next. So who's to say it's definitely going to run? That's the issue. So we'll find out here soon. This is the issue with taking trades like that look like this, because if you try and jump in right now, who's to say it's going to make that pop? It might just kind of curl back down here, shake around. That's where before we just brought it up like 1,000 times today in Traders Talk, or from the morning session rather. But I don't mind taking trades from a higher price if there's better conviction. Like we said earlier, there was better conviction from 130 than there was at 120. So 120 was the lower price. In theory, or in relation to price and profits, that's the better price. Well, there's more conviction from a higher price if there's like more volume traded there, if it's more top heavy. So NCNA, I just feel like there's more conviction from 710, 708 right there, that one. So we'll hang on here for another like 5 more minutes. If this doesn't make its move here soon, then we'll just finish up regardless. All right, so we'll kind of scan around here as well, because we don't want to like juggle around too much. But in case if this just does nothing, let's also just see what else is moving out there in the meantime. Got a little runner here on this GNLN. Like, talk about thin liquidity. This thing, just big spread. This is the type of stock that can, obviously, you can make some quick money on, but you could lose a lot quick as well if you're just like gambling. Oh, I'm just jumping here. That's not what we do here, folks. So it's like, oh, this pumped up without me. All right, let's look for support. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it broke out. Nice. Let's look for support now. It's the same thing that happened on VRAX from earlier in pre-market. When the stock begins to move, that doesn't mean it's going to continue. On this GNLN trade, you got no support sticking out here on the bid. No real orders out there nothing big order book. But a little top heavy right here, 738-ish, 740-ish, building out. Right? Built out right there. Now, it's got to hold over this price if anyone's looking for this to like fly. It's got to remain above that, because if it keeps nipping this on the way down, it's going to smash right back down towards like 6. So, little CVP level right there. Kind of broke under, over. It's got to stay over it. Got to stay over here. Thin order book right now. So that's what makes this a tough trade. I don't want to have anything to do with the stock right now. I mean, that's not to say it's going to tank. I'm just saying I don't want to have anything to do with that stock. I already got enough stress on this stock here trying to make this break. And then also, again, going back to what, you had the IMRX, right? It's just lingering here. But I think with the amount of times it broke over 250 from Friday, then just before, resistance once it gets popped. Let me ask our students here. This is where we'll finish up practically. But, for Danny, Tim, Grant, Irving, Barbara, Gillis, Ravina, all of us here in chat, stock breaks above resistance and it runs off of it. Resistance should initially become what? When this pops over 710, this might even get halted on the way up with how fast it's moving. But you'd hope to see this resistance as well flip into, as everyone's typing here in chat right now. I got like 20 of us typing back to me. We have like 116 inside our live trading room currently, all saying support, right? All looking for resistance to flip into support. So we'll see if this ends up at least holding over 250. Hasn't taken me yet on my trade. I'm trying to get filled at 252. So I'm going to keep my eyes on this for right now, see where this can take me. And then the NCNA. All right, got like another couple more minutes, folks. I'll stick on the horn for a little bit longer. I swear, though, I got to fill up on water after. All right, IMRX up, and there we are. Hey, there we go. Now, on this one, though, here, I'll probably set my stop to like 241, like even 239. It's on half size, but otherwise, the last support it made was pretty much right here. So I'll set my stop a little lower than that there. But really, I'm just looking for 250 to clean hold. So part of the issue with trying to like buy on the bid and like just wait for this to pull back is exactly this issue. It did break under 250. Normally, I'd go under and over. So I wanted to just see this hold cleaner, and that's my risk upon taking the trade. Doesn't mean it's like a bad move, but here, clearly, I'm not benefiting from it. Clearly, I'm not benefiting from that move at all, right? Pulled back. If I waited for this to go under, but then back over, there'd be no stress with this here. Well, there's no stress right now, honestly. No stress on this trade. I mean, it's been a good morning, but otherwise, at least here, needed to get back over 250. Get back over 250, then we're looking a lot cleaner on this trade, at least here for the IMRX. But if it can't even get back over 250, then there's no thought of this whatsoever from this point then. It's likely going to keep dropping back down. That's the thing. So ideally, I'm looking for this to snap back up and then definitely stay up. This isn't really going anywhere, so this just snapped back down, if anything. Held resistance pretty well. Lower highs, pulling back. That's the issue. All right, so I guess we'll keep to the IMRX. There we are, a little snap back up. It's got to stay back over 250 now. That's the key. So, folks, we are going to finish up Traders Talk for right now. If you're Grant, Alex, Marcella, Ravina, Gillis, Barbara, Margaret, got all of us here in chat right now, you know what we're doing right now for the next 2 hours, right? You know what we're watching. It's literally this stock. We're going to be doing the same exact thing that we're doing right now. Just mic off. We're going to just, jump on a few coaching calls going into the afternoon. And I'll be back live for them at least at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, if you're on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works, I hope that you enjoyed this workshop. We do this each and every Monday morning, each and every Monday afternoon, 12 o'clock, noon Eastern, morning, afternoon, wherever you may reside, right? West Coast, East Coast. But that is to say, at least, though, I appreciate your participation as well. If you're interested in joining our live trading room, just scan that QR code on the top left with the stream with your phone, with your camera, get you access for a week-long trial to our live trading room. And then otherwise, Margaret, Grant, Gillis, Alex, all of us just right now, hey, let's see if there's more to this move here. I mean, IMRX did come out good news back from Friday last week. So it was a pretty interesting headline that came out as well. So that's where I'm really hoping for this 250 to flip. I mean, really, if I at least waited for the under and over, this would have been a lot less. Well, there's no stress, but just easier trade here, right? Just like we always preach. But now at this stage, it definitely needs to stay over 250. All right, folks, we'll be back later on today inside our live trading room, just at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, and we'll go from there. Take care.